We have a wonderful opportunity to hang out, and I still consider you guys the Canadian boys in Hawk Nelson. If we can go down the line and introduce ourselves.
I'm Daniel, and I don't play hockey.
I'm John, and I sing, and I don't play hockey.
I'm Justin. I play the drums, and I actually did play hockey growing up, even though I am not Canadian. So I'm the most Canadian, I think, out of everybody here.
I'm Micah. I play guitar, and I don't even know what hockey is.
Okay, you see there's this, they have stick, and they have a puck, and we're going to have to...
So it's like baseball.
Yeah, it's very similar to baseball, just you wear skates. How is it that, and I mean, we can get into the whole sports thing right off, is that how is it that Canadian guys just aren't big hockey fans?
Just into music more, man. That's what we do.
So my thing is that I have a younger brother who every time I got interested in something, he would get interested in it, and then he would get better than me. And so sports just was the thing. I just got dominated in sports, and so I learned guitar, and then eventually he got better than me at that as well.
So what does he do now?
He's a photographer.
Okay.
And he's better than me at that as well.
When you guys come back to Canada, does it feel like you've come home, whether you're playing in Ontario or whether you're playing in Alberta, or is that just the weirdest statement you've ever heard?
I think probably just for me. I live in Ontario, so when I came over here for the show, it just felt like I was still home. But when you go through the interrogation of border and customs, I'm sure it doesn't feel like home for anyone.
Well, because I'm assuming that most of you guys now reside in Nashville. Is it different? Do you find it a completely different culture being, from Canada, living into a place like Nashville?
There's some things that are different. I think initially I was always really surprised because I grew up in Ontario and I moved to Nashville about 10 years ago, and I was really surprised at first how similar it was, but then gradually little things, kind of sneak out, like they catch you saying A and it's over. They're like, "Oh, you're Canadian, eh? Hey, you know how Canada got its name? They just had all the alphabet in a hat, and they pulled out C, A, N, A, D. Like, everyone's just cracking, Canadian jokes. So you learn, at least I learned, if you want to avoid that, you just kind of nix the A from your, maybe you don't say she's a beaut, that kind of thing.
Fly under the radar.
But no, I think by and large there's a lot of similarities, but there's little things that pop out every once in a while when you start talking about healthcare, you start talking about education, or I'm not trying to get political, but it's just you grow up in a certain community of people that all kind of think one way is the way to do it, and then you realize when you live somewhere else that other people equally think that their way is the way to do it or whatever, and that just pops out occasionally.
You guys as a band have gone through some changes, as every band has gone through. Is it difficult, or do you find that because you guys have been together that there is some sort of brotherhood that no matter what you guys go through, that it's just you guys are able to just adapt to the situation?
We always say that mutual suffering brings us together.
I think, quite honestly, with that, 2 years ago, our former singer, Jason, he left the band, and we, wondered, is this the end of the band? Can we continue to do this? We would love to, but is that even something that would work? And I honestly, we went through a few different thoughts about trying different people out as lead singer, and then I had been the guitar player, and the idea was floated for me to move over into the singer role, and that was just kind of a crazy thing that we hadn't really seen coming. And the cool thing was, I think we all reached a point where we had accepted maybe the band was going to be over, and maybe that would be okay. God had a plan for our lives during the whole time that we were in a band together. God will continue to have a plan now. And so when God kind of flipped it around on us and gave us this new season, I think it felt like a bonus for all of us. I feel like it's extra, it's extra blessing, and so for, I think I speak for all of us when we say it was really an unexpected pleasure that we got to kind of have another crack at being a band. It was like starting a band with the guys you're already in a band with.
Is it a chapter that you guys kind of just want to leave in the past, and the past is the past? Are you guys able to continue to look back and say, okay, we went through this, now we're able to move forward?
Man, I think I look back in my life and all of our time as a band, and I'm just grateful for every season. There's something to pull from every season, even the hard seasons that we went through at various times. God just taught us so much and did so much work in our lives, and so whether it's the 8 years that we had with Jay in the band, or the last 2 years of like rediscovering ourselves as a band and kind of finding our confidence in a new way. I'm grateful for all of those seasons, and I'm really excited about where we're at now.
One of the biggest hits in the last while has been Words. And in some ways, you look at old Hawk, if we could, to where you guys are now. It's incredibly different, but not in a bad way. You guys are a lot more mature.
In a bad way.
Well, no, but I always, when you say to somebody, listen, I love your new stuff,
old.
and it's different.
We are old. If anyone ever like, hey, like, have you ever thought about like doing a pop punk record again? I'm like, do you know how old I am?
Yeah. So was Words then? I mean, because it's been incredible, even having people come up to us and say, listen, you have no idea how playing the song Words has changed us. What does that do for you guys?
You know what? It's the same thing, I think, for each of us. I think the song is bigger than this band, or it's bigger than us. It's God's word. So every time I hear it, it's funny. I'll be driving along, I'll hear it on the radio, and I'm like, I should call and apologize to my mom for what I said earlier. And it's just something we can all take and apply to our lives. I love it for that reason.
Have you thought about maybe doing like an I Can Only Imagine 2 then? Like do a Words 2 or a Words Again or a Words Also?
Words Also?
Yeah.
I mean, I think just total honesty, I think in some ways people want to hear something followed up that's similar, but then you just can't do the same thing over and over again. So we're actually in the middle of writing new music right now, and we're just trying to find that middle ground of stuff that's like a continuation of what we were already talking about, but also is something new and not just rehashing and hey, that worked, let's try and do that again and ride that horse for a little longer.
Our next single is going to be called Phrases.
Phrases. It's an extension.
It's actually stronger.
Sentences. Let our chapter books.
Paragraph.
So then when looking at the new record, you talk about the changing of seasons. What is it that you want this new album to be in comparison to the last album?
And there's a really, really clear theme in the stuff we're writing right now. And it comes out of, honestly, the last couple of years of our lives. And the two words that stick out are joy and gratitude. And we really believe that, finding things to be grateful for in our lives and choosing gratitude intentionally is a pathway to joy. And I really think, how they talk about like they'll know we're Christians by our love or whatever. I mean, I think they'll know by our joy. If you are, it's not a matter of trying to live a certain way. It's about like what happens in your heart when you really understand grace and go, well, God's on my side, and He has these, surprises planned for me in life, and life's an adventure, and that really, finding things in the middle of all the struggles to really be thankful for, can lead you to a place where you can just live a different kind of life, and that's infectious. Like we saw one of my heroes this morning, Bob Goff. We saw him at breakfast, and he's an author. He wrote a book called Love Does. And that just changed my life. And he's ridiculous. Like we're just having a conversation talking about like just these ridiculous things. Like he has this lodge up in northern BC that has like 70 rooms, and he just has random people come up that, and he wants to invite people for no reason, just like he just lives this crazy life, and you just see the joy of the Lord all over this guy. Anyway, I could talk about that forever. But
so next time you're in Nashville, then people can just come and they can come stay with you.
Dude, yeah. If you can find my house.
Challenge accepted. You've been nice and quiet, so are you going to be working on some new drum stuff when it comes to the album, or are we going to be ruining things like that?
No, I don't really ever work on new drum stuff.
Right.
I've actually got lots of ideas for the drums.
Yeah, the bass player loves telling me what to do, so I just rely on him for any ideas.
Not true.
No, actually, we just kind of were working on this song recently, and a lot of times when you have a demo for a song or whatever, the drums will just be programmed or whatever. And we have this one song that we've been working on that I said to Benner, I was like, I have never heard a song need you so bad. Please. So there's going to be some explosive Benner beats. on this record.
Well, the Newsboys do the circular drum. Have you thought about maybe going upside down? I mean, let's just bring it to the next level.
You know, I saw this thing that Tommy Lee did where he had like a roller coaster drum kit that went around like this, and he would pick a fan out of the audience each night, and they would get to sit on the back, and they'd strap him in, and as he did his drum solo, they would ride with him around this thing, and I'm thinking that ups the Newsboys thing a little bit. So I'm gonna try to go next level.
Next level.
They pick a kid out of the crowd and they go, sign this waiver.
I mean, as a band, we're known. If there's a line, we erase it, and then we raise it, and then we trace that line. So that's where I'm trying to get to, is that
ready.
one.
Oh, the
We cannot wait for the next time that you guys roll through Canada.
He's gonna have a hover riser that just floats around. Flies
Back
around
to the
Hover.
the
Future
room.
style.
Hover kit.
You are making this so much better.
People's heads will literally explode. Literally.
That's what we try to do in Hawk Nelson.
New
Explode
album.
people's heads.
We're gonna have a new tour idea.
You know what? I just blew my mind. Roll the credits. No, I'm just kidding.
And that's a wrap. Hawk Nelson, guys, thank you very much for taking
Yeah,
the time.
thank you for having
It was
us.
good.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.